Hey, this is Casey Bond, and I'm here with Brenna Butler, and we are on the same page. We're talking books, fantasy and paranormal, young adult books primarily, and we're so glad to have you with us today. The first book we're going to discuss is one we read together, and it is called Halfway Dead by Terry Maggart. First of all, if you haven't met Terry, he's an amazing person, and he is hilarious.
Oh, hilarious. Hilarious. I have one of his characters in one of his other books has a name very similar to mine. And so the last book I got from Terry, he signed it with that other character's name. He thinks it's hilarious.
That's
but
awesome.
It's Birna. Like, okay.
That's awesome. So this takes place in a small town in the Adirondack Mountains, halfway. And it's just, if I could describe this book in one word, it'd be charming. I just felt like it was
very
so
much
sweet.
so. You get that very New Englandy kind of feel to it, and really that voice that he uses with this reminded me a little bit of Charlaine Harris, as she described the southern region that Sookie lives in the Southern Vampire series. I saw Terry bring his magic into this with this, and really makes you feel like you've been in that part of the country.
It makes you feel like you could stroll down the street.
Yes, yeah.
And you
very
could just
kind of
see
a
all these
Gilmore
little
Girls,
shops.
New Englandy kind of feel.
Yes, it was fun. So Carly is by day she cooks pancakes at a local diner. Waffles and I'm sorry,
awesome.
Come for the waffles, stay for the magic.
That's right. That's
the
right.
whole tagline. And but she's a witch, and she is very much feels bound to protect the town from anything the things that might threaten it. So it's very much fun. Somebody shows up in her life unexpectedly and asks her to sort of go on this quest to find this circle of chestnut trees that have magic. And so they meet some interesting people along the way. One is like a Norse vampire who is just so much fun.
He's a reoccurring character in the other books in this series, and just a really cool, idea behind him. Yeah.
So I love their dynamic. Everybody in the book is very well. The characters are well portrayed. I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed the entire book. It was fun.
It's paranormal, and it's got a real fun element.
Yes, and funny. He is so funny. So you see Terry's sense of humor come through, and definitely 2 thumbs up for the book. It was fun.
I love it. I love the series. I wanted to mention I picked up this one from Terry. This is the one that he signed to Birna, I think. Birna. I didn't realize he even did this one. This is Halfway Holiday, which is kind of an offshoot to the series, just a little novelette that you can get from Terry directly if you see him at a signing.
Right. So, and he's fun to meet. Like I said, he's got a great sense of humor and just a nice person. So, thank you so much, Terry. I picked up this book at Once Upon a Book. If you get a chance to go to any book signings, I highly suggest you do that.
And I love these cool. The hand is
throughout
throughout the series covers. Really neat little cover. And I actually met Terry a couple of years ago at another book signing, and he come up and introduced himself, and I was like, Terry Maggart, where do I know that name from? And we were lined up for a picture, and it hit me. I was listening to one of these Halfway Witchy audiobooks at the time, and that's where I knew his name. So something I was drawn to before I even met the author.
That's
really
awesome.
Cool
but it is a neat cover, for sure. Definitely one of the things that drew me toward the book. So I'm glad you were like, yeah, you got to read it.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
The next book I was going to talk about is Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. Y'all know I like my fairy tale retellings.
This one's a little different, though. You
It
usually
is
see
different.
Snow White and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and that kind of thing, but this one's about what?
This is the curse of King Midas. So Midas is a king, obviously, and he gets cursed by Dionysus so that anything he touches turns to gold. Well, he touches his daughter, and she turns to gold.
No.
Dionysus says, well, if you can get all these objects that you touched into this river by, sundown or whatever, the curse will go away. Well, he takes all the objects to the river and didn't bring her. So she's cursed with this golden skin, and anything, if she touches gold, anything else she touches can turn to gold.
Oh, so she's still living and
Yeah,
still
so she is a
moving
living,
and-
breathing,
Oh,
like
wow.
golden girl.
That is cool.
Yeah, and if-
usually that kind of story is they're frozen like
Right.
a statue. So that's a really cool
So
thing.
it's more her story than his, but he does play a role. If he gets, too far from the objects that he turned to gold, he gets very sick and starts to die. And the problem is that she's got some suitors, and most of those, run for the hills as soon as they see the golden girl. But one's very interested in her, and she's sort of like, why? But somebody, while there's this big event, some of the items, the golden items are stolen, and her dad starts getting sick. And so she's just like, okay, I'm going to go, find somebody to take me and get these items back. And it's sort of like a pirate story. It's fun. It's adventure. You don't know who to trust. And it was well written. I feel like it was really clean. So Annie says on her website, anybody 13 and up can read it. I completely agree. It was a really good retelling, and it was a fun spin on Midas because it didn't just focus on him. So it was fun.
That was a really cool story.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Oh, yeah. Okay, one of the things that I read, I know I said there was a particular order, but I'm trying to think, was the one, let's talk about The Elephant in the Room.
Okay.
Let's talk about Rage by Cora Carmack.
Yes.
Casey and I both read this one this time as well. And Casey, there's one on the screen. Casey has the hardback here too, which is gorgeous, by the way.
It is amazing. The coloring on that is so pretty.
Last time we talked a little bit about Roar. This is a world where there are these killer storms that rage the kingdoms, and there are stormlings who fight those storms. Rage is the new book out, and just came out in August of 2019, and the sequel to Roar. What'd you think, Casey?
I devoured this book as soon as it, I had pre-ordered it, and as soon as it hit my Kindle, I'm reading it. And it was so good. I always worry when I'm reading a series, is the second book gonna be quite as good as the first?
I liked it better than the first one.
I did too. I was like,
I
this
did
Roar was amazing, and this would live way up to that expectation for me.
A lot of twists and turns
yeah.
and a killer ending.
Yes. Pun intended.
I really liked, we talked a lot about in Roar how there was a slow burning relationship romance kind of behind the action. And this time you saw that kind of take a heartbreaking turn for much of the book, but it kind of came back, and then something else happened. So I'm not going to give
much
spoilers
away.
or anything.
But there are a lot of surprises in the book, which I love. I love to be surprised, and I highly recommend the series. Cora, you have done an amazing job. We love you. It is storm season. I am Stormling. I am all about Rage and Roar.
Yeah, and it just amazes me how you continue to see Roar grow and develop and become more confident, but still have these little insecurities that plague her from time to time. She does a really great job of carefully treading that line between having the hero be powerful, this powerful woman, but still have those flaws. Does a really great job with that. The ensemble cast, you don't see quite as much in this one, but you do learn more about a few other characters that had very shallow stories in the first one.
And you meet some new players that might be pulling some strings behind the scenes that you don't realize.
And a lot more about the Storm Lord.
Yes.
And some.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love the Stormlord sections.
Yeah.
What?
And you find
his
these,
character is it just comes to
commonalities
life.
Between her and him.
Yeah.
That was what?
Mind blown. So I just loved it. I can't say enough. Cannot say enough about Rage. It's so good.
Absolutely.
This will be I immediately had to buy the hardback as well for my shelves. I was like, this is going to be reread a lot. This is so good.
Nice. All right. Okay. Anything else, Casey? We'll let you.
Next, I was going to talk to you about A Pack of Blood and Lies, which is by Olivia Wildenstein. is a 3-book series. Let me get the other titles for you. The second book is A Pack of Vows and Tears, and A Pack of Love and Hate is the third book.
I love those titles. Werewolves?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've not ever read a whole lot like werewolf books. I haven't. I know, right?
Casey.
But she has like turned me into a wolfling or something. I don't know. These are so good. So there's this girl Ness, and she's living in California with her mom, and her mom dies unexpectedly. So her family from Colorado like basically come and drag her back home. Well, Ness is a werewolf. And when she gets back to her Boulder pack, which is what the series is named for, all of her sort of like wolfy, like attributes start coming back as well. She suppressed them while she's in California. But the closer she is to her pack, the stronger those become.
Coming out.
So the pack leader is also dead, and he was this horrible man, did awful things, and she hates him with passion. And his son, Liam, is vying for alpha. Well, their pack has this rule where you cannot have like females in the pack, but it doesn't say females can't be alpha. So she challenges Liam
Loophole.
for the title. And man, it's definitely like an enemies to lovers sort of thing. But it is so brilliant. She did such a good job with it.
Yeah. Okay. I might.
Yeah.
Borrow
You can borrow that.
We'll put it in my pile.
But the whole series is amazing. It's like when you fall in love with a book, you sort of just can't stop reading. So you just download the next book, and you download the next book, and then it's like, wow. So that's sort of what happened with that.
How many in that series?
3.
3. Okay.
And Olivia did an amazing job. She's the same author who wrote the book I talked about either, I can't remember if it was last month or the month before, Rose Petal Graves.
Oh, yeah. That one's
I
great
inhaled
too.
all those too. So she's one of my new favorite authors.
Nice.
She's great. So thoroughly enjoyed that, and I recommend the series. It is a little steamier, so probably not for young teens, but man, it's really good.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. One of the ones I read this time was Wilder Girls by Rory Power, and I think we have a cover for the screen there. Yeah, just a really kind of cool cover.
That's
what
cover
drew
is
me
insane.
in. Yeah, it's really different. So this is kind of a female take on Lord of the Flies.
Nice.
There is an outbreak of a virus at a private school that is secluded on an island. And the military is promising to send them a cure as soon as they have it and supplies in the meantime. But it's been months, and months have turned into years. And the virus took most of the adults first. There's only 2 adults left on the island. The rest of it is all the girls, and they're starting to go a little native at this point when the story starts. I like the camaraderie. There's 3 girls that are best friends, and it's kind of their story and told from their viewpoints. One of the friends gets kidnapped. They have kind of episodes with this virus, and with the kids, it makes them have mutations, and everybody's a little bit different in the mutation that they get. Well, they have kind of this episode, and they usually go to the infirmary. Well, one of the friends has an episode, goes to the infirmary, and then disappears out of the infirmary. So the story is about the other 2 trying to track her down and find her, and coming across all the secrets on the island.
Wow.
In the meantime, and the conspiracy around the virus. So
I have to read that.
it is pretty good. I would say there are some mature themes in it. So I would say older young adult readers, but it is a young adult book, kind of a coming of age story. Some of the weird kind of quirky things that you might not necessarily think about, I thought were really cool details in the story, such as, there are these girls in school, and they've got these habits, and even when there's no adults around, everything's in chaos, they still go to the cafeteria to eat every time. And even though there's no furniture in the cafeteria anymore because they burned all the wood in the building. So it's just weird little quirky things like that really, the devil's in the details. Yeah. And they, these details really make this story really kind of a cool
awesome. That sounds great. I love that. I want to talk about Rebel's Blade to start out with. This entire series is, 6 books long and counting. It's the Armian Feud series by Frost K. And if you like fantasy, this is a really great series. Like, I could inhale these. It's not even funny how fast I can read these books because they're that good. But basically what happens is that Sage is a blacksmith trained by her father, and she starts, this kingdom that she lives in is sort of falling apart, and people are starting to wonder, like, what's going on? Why isn't the king protecting us? There's these attacks from outsiders, and just things in the kingdom itself, like food and different things, are just not being taken care of. And so there's this rebellion that's formed, and she sort of helps them with these knives and gets involved. And she gets caught by the prince himself. And she comes to find out that the king isn't well, and they're trying to hide it as best they can and figure out what they're doing. The princes are trying to figure out what they're doing and keep their father's condition under wraps, and they're failing kind of miserably at it. But they come to this sort of understanding that she's going to be this liaison between the rebellion and the crown.
Oh, wow.
And
That's kind of an
there's
epic,
a lot of sparks that fly
story.
because her and the prince butt heads, but at the same time, you know, there's sort of an attraction there. Anyway, it's really good. I love it. If you love, like, you know, anything, any sort of kingdom fantasy, that sort of thing, or almost like a dystopian feel, but it's set in a kingdom setting. It's really great, and there are some paranormal creatures in it.
Okay.
So it's fun. It brings that fun fantasy element to it, but I highly suggest it. Excellent. And while we're on that subject, I'm gonna jump in.
Okay, go
with
right
the
ahead.
Tainted by Frost K. I got to read this as an ARC, an advanced reader copy, and it is so good. And you were talking about how, like, sort of viruses mutate people. This is sort of a take on that, except it's set in our country, and it's like there's basically this compound that Hazel lives in, and the compound is owned by her father, so she's almost like a princess-like figure, but it's like set in the future. And this virus has ravaged, it was basically like a biological weapon gone awry, so it was actually made by us.
Okay.
And
we're reaping the
unleashed,
consequences.
and then you have consequences. So some of these people, they're the tainted who have been more like mutated by this virus, and they have like animalistic type features almost. And then they're the untouched, which is what Hazel is. She's not been affected by it. They've sort of hidden in bunkers and stuff, but it's really good. She actually figures out that some of the people in her compound are actually like monstrous, which humans, and she's saved by one of these tainted, mutated people, and she gets taken to their, you know, their little kingdom, and it's really good that she sees that not every monster, I guess it goes beyond the surface. You know, you can't just judge a book by its cover or a monster by its wings.
Book by its cover. Perfect.
And, so it's
done.
A really good book. I really enjoyed it. So that was The Tainted by Frost K.
Okay.
What you got?
So I've got one that I read that was fabulous, and it's a departure from what we've been talking a lot of fantasy right now. So, you know, every once in a while I like to knock out the sci-fi book.
Absolutely.
And that's what I did with this one. Heather Hildenbrand, who's an author that both of us know, love Heather.
Yeah.
I've had this on my to-be read list for a while. It's called The Girl Who Called the Stars, and it's part of the Starlight duology. Opens on a kingdom in turmoil. The royal family is under attack, and the young princess has to be whisked away by her guardian to protect the royal line.
That's awesome.
It's kind of a Anastasia in space.
Wow.
I love it. Of course, they flee to Earth to live in secret until she's old enough to take over the throne from the tyrant who attacked, that's now over the universe. By the way, his name is Theros, which I thought was a cool play on Thanos, probably. Although it may have been, even timing-wise, I think this was last year, so it's like pre-Avenger Infinity Wars or anything like that. But so the princess trains to control her inner light. Her species of alien has this inner light that they wield, and it comes out in different forms. And she's been told all her life that her power was going to be stronger than anybody else's. But unfortunately, right before her guardian whisked her away, her mother, the queen, wiped all her memories.
Oh my goodness.
So she knows nothing of the planet that she's supposed to rule one day, except what her guardian has told her of these past few years. She doesn't know about her own power and its limits, only what he kind of knew about it, which he wasn't privy to everything, you find out. And the enemy comes, tracks her down and finds her. And some of her friends from the planet that were kids then but now grown come as well and find her and whisk her back to where all their refugees are. And then they're expecting her to lead them, and she knows nothing because her memories have been wiped. So it's really cool twist. Yeah. Twist on that, the Anastasia
I love that.
tale is really cool. The other world was very richly built. Of course, there's other species of aliens that live there too. Very cool these giant wolves.
Oh, that's
talk.
neat.
That's really cool. Love that. Swoony guy.
Yeah.
Of course, very swoony. Loved him. Cloak and dagger politics behind everything. Not everybody wants her to rule.
Right.
And so it's just, and it kind of centers on this idea, these three friends, the princess, her love interest, who was the young boy that she grew up with, and her best friend before her memory swiped. And so it's kind of a Harry Potter threesome, I would call it, which I always love when stories kind of have that.
Right.
These very tight-knit three, only one of them doesn't remember how tight-knit they are and is trying to figure out how to trust them. So just a really good story. It is part of a duology. The Girl Who Ruled the Stars is the second one in that series, and both of them are currently available.
I like the cover too. The cover was really neat.
Yeah, young adult, perfect for preteen as well as teen, I think.
Yep, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to talk about Pricked by Scott Mooney. This is probably
that name.
Woo! It's one of the funniest books I have ever read in my life. Like, I was laughing out loud throughout the whole thing. It's just so funny. So, it's about a girl named Briar, and she basically she's in New York part of the time, but there's this like other dimension to New York called the Poisoned Apple instead of the Big Apple. And so it's full of all this like fairy tale stuff that you've seen forever, like, I don't know, magic and, you know, common characters you've seen, and the typical like evil woodlands, but they also have like rent controlled areas, and it's just funny. So basically she can like grab any rose and pour her whatever emotion she wants to into it, and the person who accepts the rose from her takes in that emotion.
By the emotion. Okay.
So she can sort of manipulate people that way, and she's basically helping one of these almost like royal families who has had like this boy has been kidnapped, and this royal family's paying her to try to go hunt him down. And she's got this like knight helping her, who's sort of this like dashing Prince Charming fellow, but he's sort of bumbling and he's funny. And it's the two just go through the motions. They sort of get attacked a lot, but there's so much humor in this book.
I get attacked a lot.
They do. I don't know. There's like attacks coming from everywhere, but it's just so brilliantly written. The world is so vivid. It hits all the notes that it's like every fairy tale you've ever read you can see hints of in this book, and yet it's this whole unique world. So I thought that Scott Mooney did an amazing job with that. So the magic is fun. They're like smoke magicians, and you know, it's just great. So I highly recommend that.
Okay. It looks like we have just a few more minutes, probably time for one more. Do you have something else you wanted to
I
talk
do,
about?
if you want me to keep going.
Go right ahead.
Next is like the Celestra series by Addison Moore. This was a reread for me. I think you've got the cover up there. But this book is like 9 books long, and then there are a spin-off series, and it is that good. I believe she hit New York Times with this because it was so well written. It's about a girl named Skyla. She moves to Paragon Island. She figures out that she is part of an angelic bloodline, and a faction war between 2 different factions of angels is declared in her name because she's the only she's the only pure-blooded Celestra left. And she's angered somebody.
Oh, wow.
So they're these kids, and they're going to high school, and then all of a sudden they'll be jerked out of their reality, and they have to fight this war. And then when whoever wins, loses, or has their arms hacked off, they go right back to where they were. Like, it's really neat. The world building is amazing. I laughed out loud at this one, too. She's got, like, a crazy, like, cheap tightwad like stepdad, and her mom's trying to get pregnant. There's all these kids in the house, and I mean the cast is hilarious. And then you've got, you know, a sort of a love triangle going on.
Yeah, it sounds like opposed to this very serious, dramatic thing that's going on.
Yeah.
And then
it's like, oh, reality
around
slaps you in the face. So these people are like going to school together. She's going to school as this Celestra girl, but there's this other faction called the Countenance, and they're all going to school together. And they have these normal lives together, and then they're thrown into these wars, and it's just really unique. I loved it. So I highly recommend them. They're basically the books are Ethereal, Tremble, Burn, Wicked, Vex, Expel, Toxic, and Elysian. And then there are spin-off series, Celestra Ever After, and the Ephemeral Academy series. So they're really good. Addison's an amazing writer, and like I said, this was a reread, so it must be pretty good for me to pick it up again.
I don't think there's enough time to go deep into it, but I'm going to talk about, next time I'll talk about The Angel Trials by Michelle Maddow. Love the series, devoured the whole series at one time. Really a cool series. This is September 2019, and Mothman Festival is coming up very soon. You'll see me there. It'll be September 20th and 21st in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Casey, you got anything coming up?
The only thing I have left this year is Rebels and Readers. It's in Huntington, West Virginia at the Pullman Plaza Hotel, and I think you have to get your tickets on like Eventbrite or something, but it's a fun time. It's a lot of, it's sort of geared toward romance authors, but you know, there's other genres there as well. So,
and I got some news about a new author signing that'll be close by, coming up in October 2020. It'll be Books and Booze in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's a Pritchard Community Center that's coming up actually next October in 2020.
Yeah, so that's exciting. I was going to talk about these next time. Next month is I think I've already told you all about.
We talked about those
Oathtaker.
covers, those Oathtaker cover.
Well, Cursebreaker's out, and it was amazing. I cannot say enough about these books. Like Audrey Gray, girl, these are so good. These are so good. So I'll talk about those next time.
For next time too, I've got a book. It's in James Patterson's imprint called "Girls of Paper and Fire," and it's one of those that I'm like, I'm not sure about this book. Oh my gosh, I love this book. I'm not sure about it. A lot of emotions with that book. So we'll talk about that next time.
That cover is amazing. But anything James does is like it is like golden.
It's under his imprint. Natasha. I think it's Nagan. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. She was the writer on that, but he does a little prologue for that book. So
that's awesome.
But a lot of, and we both talked about Shanda Hahn's book. She's got a new retelling that's just been released this summer that we're both going to be looking for as well.
Yes, because like next month with Halloween and stuff, we had to get beastie with it. So it's a Beauty and the Beast sort of spin-off, and we're really excited about it. The cover's amazing. And Shanda is a really nice person. If you've never met her, she is super, super nice and very helpful to anybody who needs it. And just can't say enough about her. So I'm going to be talking about the Relentless series by Karen Lynch.
Okay.
I'm reading that now. I am in love with these books.
I've not read those, but I've heard tons and tons of good things
in
about
your
those books.
life.
I know. They're on the list, Casey. The list.
I know. The list that gets ever so long. But they're really good. I've read book 1. I'm in the middle of book 2, Refuge. And then I think there's like 6 or 7 books, though. So I intend to read them all.
So a lot of books for next time. So make sure you tune in. That's all for today, though, on where this was On the Same Page with Brenna Butler and Casey Bond. We'll see you next time.